Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Adrian Dix. I'm BC's Minister of Health. Before we begin this morning, I want to acknowledge with respect that we're on the territory of the Musqueam Nation, and we're honored to be here today on their land. It's great to see so many people here in support of today's announcement. I'd like to, as the MC, introduce the speaking order today. You're going to hear from Premier David Eby first, Leanne Heppel, the CAO, and Executive Chief Ambulance Officer, that is, and Executive Vice President of BC Emergency Health Services, Kevin Hillier, the President of Carson Air, and Christopher Singh, a critical care paramedic. Just want to acknowledge with us today are Alman Singh, the MLA for Richmond Queensborough, Henry Yao, the MLA for Richmond, there he is, Richmond Zetter, and Kelly Green, the MLA for Richmond Steveston. It's great to have all of you here today. And with that, let's get to the big news. I want to introduce Premier David Eby.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Adrian. Anytime there's a politician at an airport in an election year, it means either they're fleeing the country or it's an infrastructure announcement. I have some good news for the majority of British Columbians. Disappointing news for a couple. This is an infrastructure announcement today. When your loved ones are sick, when they're critically injured, in a province that is the size of France and Germany and the Netherlands combined, it doesn't matter distance, it doesn't matter where you are, you deserve high quality care. That is a commitment that we have made to British Columbians, and it is a commitment we are honoring in part with today's announcement. Our air ambulance fleet saves lives. It makes sure that people can access care in every corner of the province. It's no secret that our healthcare system is facing challenges, that healthcare systems in many parts of the world are facing challenges right now: aging populations, growing populations, increased demands. And British Columbia brings unique challenges of geography to those already difficult problems that our government needs to address. There is a choice to be made around our healthcare system and a discussion that is underway. One school of thought is that we need to cut back and reduce what we're doing. We need to cut budgets, cancel plans, cancel expansions of hospitals because we can't afford to do it. Our government just disagrees with that. British Columbians need support now. Our province is facing massive growth. We have infrastructure that is aging, that was not replaced for a generation, and we can't rely on the infrastructure of our parents and grandparents anymore. And that includes critical infrastructure like our ambulance infrastructure. We're increasing support for emergency services, including air ambulances for rural British Columbia. When the contracts expired on our air ambulance infrastructure, it gave us an opportunity as government to renew the fleet, to look at how we do things and make sure that we're meeting the needs and expectations of British Columbians right across the province. How can we ensure that the care that's delivered in crisis moments in every corner of this province is the highest quality care available? Well, I'm very pleased to announce that we have completed the procurement, and as you can see behind me, beautiful new airplanes are coming into service. The full fleet will be replaced by fall of next year, with planes already being replaced right now. These new planes, this state-of-the-art fleet, brings a number of advantages over the pre-existing fleet. Stretchers can be loaded in and out of the planes without having to transfer patients. The new planes can land on gravel runways, opening up entirely new parts of the province to air ambulance service. The entire fleet will have a consistent interior design, which is state-of-the-art, making it easier for air paramedics to support patients because everything is in the same spot on every single plane, and it is all modern and cutting edge. Minister Dix will provide more details about this, But the first Beechcraft King Air 360 CHW began service in British Columbia in May. And the final fleet will involve 3 of these planes in Vancouver, 3 in Kelowna, 2 in Prince George, 1 in Fort St. John, with backups in Vancouver, Kelowna, and Prince George. Our government is making the largest capital investment in BC history for new hospitals, clinics, care homes, cancer centers. We've delivered 700 new family doctors supporting British Columbians since we signed our agreement with family doctors, and more than 6,000 new nurses after reaching agreement with the College of Nurses around fast-tracking internationally trained nurses and expanding spaces in nursing education in the province. We know we've got more work to do, but today's announcement brings us a step closer to delivering the kind of healthcare system that every British Columbian deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Premier Eby. And as the Premier noted, these planes have benefits for patients, have benefits for paramedics that are, I think, transformational for the service. They can, as the Premier has said, access gravel runways, allowing them to land and to take off in more communities, increasing healthcare access for Indigenous, northern, rural, and remote communities. Because no matter where anyone lives, it's absolutely critical that access to care not be compromised. The planes also have significantly expanded capabilities for specialized care, with all 12 airplanes in the BCEHS fleet able to carry patients with highly specialized medical needs, including patients requiring life support. Specialized care the planes and crew will be able to support include patients using extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, or ECMO, which is a form of life support that does the work of the heart and lungs for patients who are critically ill. Currently, only 50% of our planes can support ECMO. Neonatal patients in biomedical neonatal transport incubators. Those are the gold standard and are an improvement over the smaller incubators the infant transport team currently uses on the air ambulance airplanes. Bariatric patients have additional support, and patients in epi shuttles, a mobile medical isolation unit used for patients with certain infectious diseases, are available on all of our planes. Another advantage these planes have is improved patient and paramedic safety through power stretcher compatibility. You are going to see that soon. This will make patient transfers much more seamless and eliminates disturbing patients for stretcher-to-stretcher moves. The new planes have a streamlined, uniform layout and design that will help with access to medical devices that patients need in patient care. This is the 50th year of the BC ambulance service, and it is a significant one. We reported a couple of weeks about the transformational change that's occurred at the service. We have doubled in the last 6 years the number of full-time paramedics in the service, dramatically improved services to rural and remote communities, added 134 in-service ground ambulances, 128 units, paramedic units, separate paramedic units as well, and 5 net new aircraft in addition. This has allowed us to respond to the significant demands of populations such that in the last year, response across urban and rural and remote communities has improved for the most significant calls, for purple and red calls, something that makes a huge difference for patient outcomes. We are proud of the work that's been done in the BC Emergency Health Services. It's transformed our service from a service that used part-time and non-permanent staff to a service that's full-time, that delivers services to people and is delivering outcomes for people. I am very proud of all of that, and it's been needed to happen. The most serious calls, purple calls, have increased by more than 70% in 5 years, and patient response times have improved while calls have got more, which is a demonstration of the work of our paramedics, the work of our dispatchers across the system. So with all of that, I wanted to say that this is a significant announcement today. These are state-of-the-art planes, and to talk about that a little bit more, it's my honor to introduce Kevin Hillier from Carson Air to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending. I'm Kevin Hillier, President of Carson Air. Together with our 150 employees and our parent company, Exchange Income Corporation, we wish to thank the province of BC for placing their trust in Carson Air to carry out this important service. Our people are what make this all happen, and I'm grateful to be able to talk about how they helped put this all together. The dedicated team of maintainers, pilots, and administrative staff at our 4 locations throughout BC have worked very hard for the last 2 years to put this aircraft in service. From building the proposal to purchasing, modifying, and maintaining the aircraft, the many hours of training it took, they all worked together to help produce this amazing aircraft that we see today. The King Air 360 represents the very latest in technology that improves on an already very capable and well-proven air ambulance platform. The no-lift patient loading system truly changes the landscape for our flight crews and for BCEHS paramedics, allowing safe and efficient loading that improves patient comfort. Advanced onboard technologies such as an infrared camera, onboard Wi-Fi, and satellite data transmission, along with more powerful engines and gravel runway capabilities, will allow us to access more areas of the province than in the past. Our pilots, AMEs, administration are all proud of this aircraft. We're all grateful for working with BCEHS for over 30 years, and we look forward to the future. These truly are the next generation of air ambulance aircraft, and the King Air 360 is the best choice to ensure safety, patient comfort, and better access to health care for the people of BC. Thank you again to the province of BC and BCEHS for giving us this opportunity, and thank you for attending today.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's now my honor to introduce Leanne Heppel, our Chief Ambulance Officer, who is leading the transformational change that we're seeing in the BC Ambulance Service and BC Emergency Health Services. Welcome, Leanne.
A big thank you to Premier Eby and Minister Dix, and welcome to everyone on this very important day. As the Chief Ambulance Officer of British Columbia Emergency Health Services, I'm joined here with my leadership team, who's done an amazing amount of work over the last several years to strengthen BCEHS. And we share the excitement that Premier Eby and Minister Dix and others have had about the launch of the new fixed-wing air ambulances. As the first of 12 airplanes that will serve as air ambulance across BC, this aircraft's significance is second to none. The features, the flight range, and other improvements mean that with this aircraft, BCEHS is becoming a world leader in providing air ambulance-based patient care. We responded to nearly 600,000 calls for help last year. We transported over 8,000 patients by air, and the majority of those were by plane. We fly to every corner of the province, and we heard how big the province is. It's like 2 countries, France and Germany, put together. Sometimes people believe our role is simply to transport people to medical care, when in reality, our care begins with the 911 call. Patient care begins with when you first speak with one of our emergency medical call takers and continues through when paramedics arrive and begin emergency medical treatments, and then, when needed, begin the process of transporting patients to hospitals. These new aircrafts are the closest equivalent to flying an intensive care unit. They will enable our paramedics, including those that have our highest level of training, our critical care paramedics and our infant transport team, to provide excellent emergency medical care, improving health outcomes and saving lives. Well, I'll let critical care paramedic Chris Singh speak to the specific improvements on the aircraft. I also want to recognize that these aircraft provide a safer environment both for our patients and for our crews, with the innovative technology, including the power load stretchers, which are going to protect our paramedics and improve care for our patients. I want to thank the Minister and the provincial government for providing these resources and many more over the last several years. These are what's needed to continue to improve the emergency medical care that we're providing to British Columbians. I also want to thank Carson Air and President Kevin Hillier and their team for their support and partnership and for the excellent service they provide. Most importantly, I want to also acknowledge our dedicated and hardworking BCEHS staff who at this very minute are responding somewhere to another urgent call for help with skill, care, and compassion. Thank you very much.
And now we're going to ask one of our critical care paramedics, Chris Singh, to talk about what these changes mean for him and for his colleagues. So welcome to the podium, Chris.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Chris Singh, and I'm a critical care flight paramedic and part of the lucky few that get to work aboard this fantastic new airplane. As part of a team of BCEHS emergency medical professionals, our role is to care for some of the most critically ill and injured patients in the province. These new planes make my job as part of the team providing this life-saving care safer and even more effective. The innovative engineering that has gone into not just this aircraft, but the rest of the fleet that we expect over the next year and a half is simply extraordinary. Key features like the power loading system, which I'll be happy to demonstrate later, mean that both patients and paramedics are safer as they fly. The ability to now support bariatric patients across our entire fleet means that we're able to provide better care for more people. As mentioned earlier, these new planes also expand our ability to move patients on ECMO. This is a device that literally takes the place of a patient's heart and lungs during transport. And now we can do that across our entire fleet. In addition, the ease as to which we can transport the mentioned biomedical neonatal transport incubators, which help keep babies healthy and alive during their earliest moments of life, and epi-shuttles, medical isolation units, will help my team and I provide better patient care and will ultimately save lives. In my role as a critical care paramedic, I am often called to the rural, remote, and Indigenous communities of this province. These new airplanes truly help us provide more equitable access to healthcare for these communities. I'm going to echo what was said earlier. One of the things that's most exciting about these aircraft is the ability for these aircraft to land and take off on gravel runways. This means that our team can bring our life-saving training and equipment to nearly every community in the province. I want to thank everyone who has worked hard over the last few years to make this project a reality. This is truly a very big advancement for the air ambulance service in the province. When you see a red and white ambulance, helicopter, and now airplane, you can be assured that you and your loved ones are truly getting the best care possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to you and to all your colleagues for your exceptional work over the last number of years. This has been a period, particularly in patient transport, of remarkable challenges. We had to, in 2021, transfer from northern BC to the south patients in the hundreds who are in critical care due to COVID-19, and our teams of paramedics, our teams of nurses, our teams of others who were involved in those transfers done an exceptional job. Last year, because of wildfires, 1,000 people, residents of long-term care, were moved from where they lived, where they were living, to new homes because of wildfires for brief periods, but very challenging periods, since all of the people in long-term care are facing significant issues. Our teams of paramedics and dispatchers in our organization did an exceptional job in dealing with that. 50 years ago, an NDP government led by Dave Barrett and a health minister named Dennis Koch created the BC Ambulance Service. Before that, it had been a patchwork of services inconsistently implemented across the province. They created a provincial service, and they created it significant, and it made a significant difference in people's lives. More recently, the service, however, especially in the years prior to my becoming Minister of Health, prior to the NDP's return to government, had lost its way. 70% in 2017 of its staff were casual, and we saw the need for fundamental change. No area of healthcare other than mental health and addictions has seen the level of investment that BC Emergency Health Services, that the ambulance services have received, because it was required, because the needs were there. And I am very proud of the work done by our union, QP Local 873, which has really delivered for its members, but also delivered for the people that it serves, the people of British Columbia. That work together has been transformational. And I want to thank Chris and all of our ambulance paramedics and all of our dispatchers across British Columbia for their work. And with that, I'm happy to return the Premier to the podium for questions.
Thank you for joining us today. We have members of the media here in person as well as those on the phone line. We're going to begin on the phone line. Just a reminder to those on that line to press *1 to enter the queue. All members of the media will be limited to one question and one follow-up. We're going to begin today with Richard Zussman from Global News. Go ahead, Richard.
Premier, you're at the airport right now. A delegation from Metro Vancouver is about to blast down that runway behind you on a junket to Amsterdam. With Metro Vancouver billing billions over budget taxpayers, is this the right time for municipal politicians to be taking trips all around the world at the expense of taxpayers?
We've raised our concerns with Metro Vancouver about the North Shore water treatment plan and their need to assure us and the federal government about their procurement processes and their work on major projects. It's vital that Metro Vancouver maintains the confidence of municipalities that it serves, and I expect, as do the municipalities, as does the federal government, that Metro Vancouver will work in a way to protect and to restore, where necessary, that confidence. It's vital that they have a strong working relationship between the local government and the regional level.
And Richard, do you have a follow-up question?
Does there need to be more oversight for municipal leaders, and should there be more oversight specifically on travel expenses and going to conferences and going to events? Considering the climate as you described, your concerns, but just like, should municipal politicians be spending money right now to travel all around the world to go to conferences and events?
Well, municipal leaders, like all politicians in the province who are directly elected, are accountable to their constituents for how they spend money, and ensuring that accountability link is preserved is the job of the provincial government in terms of making sure that information of how that money is spent is available to the public so they can hold their local elected officials to account. So whether it's a trip or whether it's an investment in the community, that the public has the information that they need to judge the conduct and the outcomes and the work of their local elected officials.
Our next question will stay on the phone line with Wolf Deppner from Black Press. Go ahead, Wolf.
Yes, thank you for taking my question. Researchers at UBC recently published a study that called for the reflooding of the plains out in Abbotsford, the Sumas Plains there. The president of the Conservative Party of BC has talked about a similar approach, but the MLA for the region Bruce Behrman has come out against that. Where does the province stand on this issue?
Thanks for the question, Wolf. I mean, I have to admit I was flabbergasted by the suggestion of John Rustad's party that we turn the Sumas Valley back into a lake. This is the latest in a flood of bad policy decisions brought forward by John Rustad's party. Just to give some perspective about what we've heard so far that to save money, they're going to cram even more kids per classroom in Surrey. And now they're going to abandon the work that we need to do and that we are doing on the pumps and the dikes in the Sumas Valley to make sure that the farmers who provide the food that we all rely on are protected. Now, I understand that they are proposing dramatic cuts to the provincial budget. I think it is probably a massive surprise to the farmers and the people who live in the Sumas Valley to find out that they were going to be The Conservative Party and John Rustad were going to be attempting to save money by abandoning the dikes and doing what they're calling a managed retreat from the valley. I think it's a very bad decision. It will impact food prices for British Columbians. It will hurt farmers with dramatically higher costs, and they won't be able to farm anymore if it's underwater, obviously. And just another example of how John Rustad is going to cost British Columbians if he ever manages to get elected.
And Wolf, do you have a follow-up question?
The new unemployment rate came out this morning. BC is at 5.6%, up 0.6% from the last month. What's your reaction to these numbers? BC United has already pointed out that BC lost some almost 8,000 jobs. What is your reaction to these numbers, which some say are heading in the wrong direction?
Well, the numbers are certainly important indicators for us, and we follow them closely. Statistics Canada points out that we're holding steady, and we are, under huge strain. The rise in interest rates, the impact of global costs, BC businesses have been pulling through. We added almost 4,000 jobs in the private sector in this last period, and we are number 2 in Canada for private sector job creation, number 2 in the entire country, which is great. But it doesn't mean a lot when people are struggling with the costs of groceries, the cost of housing, which is why we understand that while it's good to be the 3rd lowest unemployment rate in Canada, it's good to be 2nd for private sector job creation. It doesn't matter unless we're supporting British Columbians with the big challenges that they're facing. So we're going to continue to take the steps to support our resilient business that has managed to grow despite massive odds stacked against them. They continue to add jobs. They continue to expand. We continue to attract that international investment to British Columbia. We're going to continue to do that support, but we're also going to make sure that British Columbians themselves are supported with what they need. That's what today's announcement is about. It's what our housing policies are about, to make housing more affordable for British Columbians.
Our next question will come from the floor with Cecilia Hua from City News. Go ahead, Cecilia.
Thanks for taking my question. Just curious, any numbers on how much this fleet of 12 planes is costing the province, and will there be need to hire more EMS staff and pilots to man them?
Thanks. I'm going to pass that to the Health Minister.
Yeah, why don't you take this?
Yeah.
The entire strategy is going to be over 10 years, over $1 billion, but specifically around the planes, it's going to be around 675. And yes, this is, although we're not actually expanding the fleet, we're modernizing the fleet, and we're as you heard earlier, we're actually going to have the most modern fleet in the world. We'll have world-class air ambulance services for the province of British Columbia, which is so important because of the long distances between all of our communities. But we are continually recruiting. This is the best job in British Columbia right now from my perspective, and so we're hiring right from high schools up, and continue to train our paramedics up to the highest trained, like Chris here, critical care paramedic, and in particular a flight paramedic flying across British Columbia. And so it's a remarkably large investment to improve air ambulance services across the province, and to provide safer care for our patients, and also provide a better environment for our paramedics to work in, which is going to help reduce injuries, et cetera. And so it's a great investment, gives a good opportunity to be hiring more paramedics and to training them up to the highest level of care.
And Cecilia, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, this is for Health Minister Dix. I wanted to see if you could describe what the most urgent needs that we're seeing in these rural, remote BC communities, and when we're giving them more access by these additional air ambulances, are they being transported to area hospitals, or are they bringing over to like the bigger hospitals down here?
Well, it depends on the circumstance, of course, but what we've done is seen the most significant investment in rural and remote ambulance care that we've ever seen in BC, moving 60 communities to full-time models. What does that mean in Mackenzie, for example, which is an example of communities, from 2 full-time paramedics, 2 permanent paramedics to 10 in that community. And we are hiring everywhere. So what you're seeing is better care in communities. And then, of course, where we're required to, transferring by air ambulance, both from remote communities to larger centers, tertiary hospitals, that could be, from remote communities to smaller hospitals if required, but also, of course, interpatient transfers to places like that have high levels of specialized care, like Kelowna or Royal Columbian Hospital or others. So it's all of the above. And what we've committed to is transforming the rural and remote ambulance service. It started in an announcement we made in April of 2021 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, we saw the addition of 5 aircraft to our fleet, but also the addition of ground ambulance service that's significant. In this case, the service provided for every patient, and everyone who needs this service, obviously, is in significant need, a higher quality of care and better outcomes for them. So absolutely, we're investing in ground ambulance service, 134 more ambulances, 128 more paramedic units in addition to that, 5 more aircraft, but also investing in our workforce, more critical care paramedics, more paramedics at every level of the service provided in the communities. The place you've seen the most significant difference is in rural and remote communities, where our new staffing model is making a transformational difference. And you talk to mayors around British Columbia, and they'll tell you the difference that it makes in communities. So we have to improve air service, improve ground service, and ensure that these transfers are done in the best possible way. And this remarkable fleet is going to do exactly that.
Our next question will come from Ashley Joannou from the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Ashley.
Hi. A couple of my questions have already been asked, but I'm wondering, these are the 9 planes. Is there talk to replace the helicopters as well?
Yeah, exactly right. We'll be describing this and announcing this soon, but there's also an upgrade and a process to upgrade our fleet of helicopters as well to provide improved service there, and you'll be hearing from us soon on the details of that. Some of it is success. We've gone through a similar process as we did here with Carson Air, having a competitive bidding process to make sure that our paramedics and dispatchers and healthcare teams have absolutely the best aircraft in the world. That will be true for helicopters as it is for airplanes.
Ashley, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, just a practical one. What happens to the old planes? Are you selling them to another jurisdiction somewhere, or are you scrapping them for parts? Like, what happens to the ones that aren't in use anymore?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The existing aircraft are all in very good condition, and they are going to continue operating through the transition period while we source and modify new aircraft. Our plan with them in the future is to redeploy them within our group of companies, and they'll continue on in their lives as probably air ambulance aircraft or other charter aircraft. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. We're going to go to Amelia McGower from Orazio, Canada. Go ahead, Amelia.
My first one would be for Premier Eby. I know that you are going to be meeting the Western premiers this weekend, so Sunday and then Monday. And just could you tell us what are your priorities going into that meeting? What will you be defending in terms of British Columbia's priorities and needs?
Thanks. I'm really looking forward to meeting with colleagues from Western Canada. The Western premiers get together for these regular meetings to talk about common issues. One of the top items on our agenda is infrastructure related to trade. And the reason why this is one of our top items of how our provinces move goods between each other is because they have a direct bearing on how much our people who are resident in our provinces pay for the things that they consume. Things are more expensive if trucks take longer to get to their destinations, if trains take longer to get to their destinations. But it's also about building up our economy. We saw when the port closed due to the strike last year how important the ports in British Columbia are to the Canadian economy. and making sure that goods can move from different provinces through to British Columbia and out to destination markets, how important that is about growing our economy and ensuring there are good jobs for British Columbians, but also all Canadians. So that's one piece. We'll also be talking about housing issues, costs of housing, and the infrastructure needed to support new housing is front of mind for premiers in Western Canada. We're all seeing population growth. British Columbia is some of the fastest population growth of the Western provinces, and building the housing that we need, making sure that that housing is affordable for people will be a top agenda item as well. And then finally, of course, healthcare. You know, making sure that we're delivering high-quality healthcare for the residents of our province. British Columbia is doing very well compared with other provinces in recruiting those family doctors and those nurses. But there are lessons that we can learn from other provinces. Where are they having success? What can we bring from what they're doing to British Columbia to respond here? And how can we better coordinate between the provinces so we're not poaching each other's health workers and driving up costs without actually improving the quality of care? How can we coordinate our training and deployment of health workers to be more successful in providing better care in Western Canada? And we'll probably be talking about the Stanley Cup as well.
And Amelia, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. This is a two-parter. Last time that you met with premiers, you had an agreement with Andrew Furry regarding just like the energy sector. So do you envision anything similar to that with the Western premiers? And also just a reaction because of the border workers that might go on strike, and it will affect airports and just traveling from Canada to the U.S.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. I'm hopeful actually that that Premier Furey will be able to come out to British Columbia. We're still working on the details, but to continue that exchange, we're both coastal provinces. We both have a huge interest in clean energy and the opportunity around hydrogen, and that exchange is taking place. But it's not just with him. One of the key topics that I've been engaging with Premier Smith from Alberta about is in relation to hydrogen. Alberta has interest in hydrogen, as does British Columbia, and common questions about making sure that we're able to transport it out to the coast successfully for export markets, and how we can work with the federal government to ensure that they're doing their part in terms of the railways and making sure communities are safe. And that we're able to take advantage of this huge opportunity for both of our provinces will also be a key agenda item in terms of energy and clean energy for British Columbia.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us.